careful to stay out on slicks.
This is my immediate out of the home theater review for F1. I realize I'm a little bit late on this, but nevertheless, this is the review. So we're going to talk about the audio, the video, and the movie itself. But before we get started, let me tell you about the gear that I used for this review. For this review, my setup includes 11 Arendal speakers and a 7.3.6 configuration, 5 1723S monitors for the front stage and rear surrounds, 2 1961 monitors for side surrounds, 2 1961 bookshelf, and 4 1961 height speakers for a total of 6 height speakers. For the low end, I've got dual 18-inch JTR RS1s and a 21-inch MagTheatron subwoofer for maximum impact. Processing the audio is a Trinnov Altitude 16 with an Amplitude 16 processor. On the visual side, I've got a madVR Emby core processing an EPSON QB1000 4K projector, made it to a 110-inch acoustically transparent Seymour screen with the center channel behind the screen. So I saw F1 in the theater, just like all the rest of the big blockbuster movies of the summer. I believe this is one of the first ones. And I saw this in IMAX, and in the theater in IMAX, this looked absolutely amazing. Looked and sounded amazing. So this movie was shot with IMAX cameras, or I don't know if it's technically called IMAX or shot for IMAX, but this was shot in IMAX. Saw it in the theaters, AMC, IMAX, and I really enjoyed this movie. Wasn't sure what to think about it when I saw the trailers. It looked exciting, but I'm not an F1 person at all. I don't follow the sport. You know, I've seen clips and I've seen coverage on TV, but I'm not a car racing person. I'm not an F1 person, but this looked very interesting. I love the movie. This was a good movie. This was a good blockbuster movie. Did pretty well in the theaters. So it's your typical like underdog story. There's nothing really groundbreaking here. It's a good plot, but it's pretty predictable. So, you know, you have Brad Pitt, who is an older, washed up racing guy, car driver, and one of his friends comes to ask him to help out his team. There's, you know, a young hothead that's really good, but he's cocky. You know, he's a rookie. So we've seen this story before. There's, like I said, there's really nothing new, and it was pretty predictable. But overall, the movie itself, I really enjoyed it. Beautiful images, beautiful, beautiful cinematography. Like I said, on IMAX, sounded really good on IMAX. So in the theater, I was really excited about the audio mix on this because it's a car racing. It's F1. I've never seen F1 in person, but just seeing it on TV, you can tell that it's a loud, powerful sport. Super loud. So I was like, the atmospheric should be really awesome.
And the two Ferraris come in for intermediate tyres. Let's see who else decides to play it safe.
They were in the theater. One thing I was really excited about was the height activity, because even though it was an IMAX theater and there was no Dolby Atmos, the announcer, the F1 announcer, anytime that he came, or anytime that you heard him, where I was sitting, you could hear his voice up in the top left back corner. So it had really, really good separation. His voice sounded really big, a lot of reverberation, because I mean that's how it sounds when you're, you know, at a F1. So it really added to the realism of the movie. I was very excited about the audio mix on when this came to home release. The trailer itself on Apple, this was produced by Apple. The trailer on Apple TV was in Atmos, and it sounded incredible. So I'm like, man, if it sounds like this on just the trailer and that's streaming, I cannot wait to hear this at home. But we're going to get into that. So that's the movie. Really good movie. If you haven't seen it, check it out. I think you'll enjoy it, especially if you're an F1 person, if you follow the sport. Let's talk about the video. So the video on this, I think the cinematography is beautiful. That translated over very well, but this is a very dark movie. I don't remember it being this dark in the theater. So I'm using an EPSON QB1000 projector, and I have a madVR Emby core that is processing the video. So like I said, the HDR looks really good. but the movie overall is very dim. I was not expecting that. I don't know if that's necessarily director's intent. I do think the movie was shot in, you know, a lot of dusk. I mean, in the theater it was brighter, but it could have very just well been that they shot this movie when there was a lot of, you know, dusk out, not a lot of sunlight, but it's very dim. Just watching it, you know, for the second, third time here in my home theater, it's very dim. So I was expecting it to look a lot brighter, just because a lot of the shots happen when it's outside in the daytime. But again, I don't know if it's necessarily a bad transfer or if that's just how it was shot or that's just how it was graded for the home. Either way, I wasn't expecting it to look so dim. So, you know, I wasn't too happy with that, but the HDR still does look really good. There are some scenes where it's a little bit brighter, but overall this is a pretty dim looking movie. The clarity though, the 4K is absolutely crisp, very clean. You know, it's got that digital look, but it fits for the movie. It fits for F1. I didn't really notice any grain shots in this. I don't think there's a whole lot of grain. If there is, I didn't notice it. But the video transfer looks really good, very crisp, very clean. But again, the downside is the video is very dim. So that's a bummer. You know, I don't know how it looks on streaming. I'm watched this on Kaleidescape. So as far as the video, I would have to give this a 6.5. I think it could have been brighter, but again, that's probably up for debate whether director's intent, whether they color graded it differently, made it a lot dimmer for the home release. That's probably more than likely the case, but I can't confirm that. But I do know I've heard other people, other content creators say that this looks like a pretty dim movie. The audio. Let's talk about the audio.
I'm pushing, but I can't catch him.
As the race leaders approach the main straight, Sunny Hayes.
So again, I was super excited about the audio release on this 4K digital release because of how good it sounded in IMAX. I got my iPad here. I took some B-roll of the movie and the audio, and you know, I was watching the Atmos viewer on while I was watching the movie. So this is a very frustrating audio mix, just like pretty much every other blockbuster movie that we've had. I know Kaleidescape has pushed out some updates to some of the big blockbuster movies. I bought this movie probably less than a week ago, so I didn't buy it outright because it was $40, and I heard that it didn't sound very good, so I didn't want to spend $40. I purchased it when it was like $34.99. I really wanted to wait until it was a little bit cheaper, but you know, I wanted to see it in my theater. So the audio is very much the mixed bag. Well, it's not even a mixed bag. It's just a disappointment. So the bass on this is so anemic. It is almost not present at times. Again, there is an LFE track, but this is, I would say after watching this one, this is probably one of the worst blockbuster 4K movies that came out this year for home release with bass. Again, this is an F1 movie. This is a F1 racing. I've never seen F1 personally in person, but just watching it on TV, you can tell that it is super loud, super powerful. The engines, you know, those engines are ridiculously loud. It's going to have a lot of bass in it. And especially with multiple cars, 10, 12, however many cars there are, I'm sure the bass is absolutely insane in person at an F1 race. The bass is non-existent here. I was listening at -8. So I cranked it. I typically listen to around -14. I bumped it up to -8. Bass is just absolutely horrible. It's anemic. And you're thinking, how did this happen? It's baffling, man. And you know, watching it on the Atmos viewer, different scenes, you see the subs lighting up, but then you're like, where's the actual bass? there's a few moments during this movie where there's a substantial amount of bass. It's not even good, but it's more substantial than the rest of the movie overall. But even that's very, very weak. So yeah, the bass on this is trash. I don't know what happened on this release. Again, the trailer on Apple TV, streaming, Atmos, awesome. Tons of bass. It's baffling that the actual release is so bad. As far as the Atmos activity, also very much a letdown. So what's weird about this is, again, I was excited to hear the Atmos on this because of the audio in the IMAX theater, especially with the announcer. I was like, that's going to sound really cool if they do that right.
As the race leaders approach the main straight, Sonny Hayes is in another standoff over team strategy.
Now,
The announcer is probably the best part of the Atmos, but it's not reminiscent of what I experienced in the theater. So you can hear the announcer in the high channels, but it's not as pronounced as in when I watched it in the theater. It's hard to describe. When I heard the announcer in the theater, it was prominent, like I said, it was prominently in the upper left back corner, and you could tell directly where it was, but it had enough reverberation. There was enough atmospherics where it sounded like the voice was carrying through an actual F1 race stadium, whatever it's called. This one is not really like that. You can hear it, and it's almost like they mixed the announcer's voice in some of the high channels and on the lower channels. And when I was looking at the Atmos viewer, you can see whenever that announcer starts talking, you see it's usually the back channels. So I have 6 high channels I'm running right now. It was always the back 2. So I guess that is accurate as far as the theater. Like I said, I could hear him in the upper left back corner at the IMAX theater, but it just doesn't sound as prominent as it did in the theater. But what's strange is anytime they show shots of like Brad Pitt or anybody else racing in the car,
don't take me to follow me. Govee, Joshua, Sonny is your dope. I'm right behind him.
there is zero height activity. And I was watching it, and it's funny because whenever you see the actors and they're in the car racing and the announcer is speaking, the height channels light up.
Finally, he's back out onto the track and just in front of Verstappen. Now we'll get a blue flag here so Verstappen can get...
But as soon as he stops speaking and they're showing the racers in the car,
To catch up.
I can see him. I'm almost there. Don't take me to follow me. Govee, Joshua, Sonny is your dope. I'm right behind him.
Verstappen pulls away there.
zero height activity. I'm thinking that's very odd. I'm pretty sure an F1 car, with your enclosed, they're wearing, they have audio, they're wearing headphones or earpieces so that they can talk to their team. If you're going 200 miles an hour, the wind is going to be super, super loud over that car. The engine is going to be reverberating all around that car. The track going over the street, the racetrack, all of that stuff is going to add to atmospherics. There's none of that. There's no height activity when they're racing, when they're in the car. Bizarre. Very strange. I don't understand it. There was a few times I think I noticed when maybe there was something, but even like the car wreck, whenever, I forget the character's name, but the rookie, whenever he crashes, and his car, I know that there's not really a lot of audio there. It's mainly music over the B-roll, over the video. But I mean, anytime anybody crashes, like when Brad Pitt is racing for the first time, or he's trying out to see if he can make the team, to see if he can beat the rookie's time, he absolutely crashes that car. and stuff goes flying everywhere. No HUD activity. I'm thinking there's stuff flying literally over his head. Stuff is exploding. No HUD activity. So, you know, as far as overall audio, it's okay. It's nothing impressive. Again, I was at -8, and, you know, it did help cranking it to that level, but the mix overall is pretty lackluster. No bass. HUD activity is pretty whack unless there's announcers, you know, the announcer speaking. I'd have to give the audio a 6. I probably should give it lower than that considering the type of movie that it is and how bad it is, but I'm going to give it a 6. So 6 overall for the audio, and I'll give it, what did I say before? I'll give it a 7 for the video. 6.5 or 7. I'll go with a 7. Again, if it was a lot brighter, this movie would probably be one of the best looking movies of the year. But you know, I do want to give it some credit because it looks really clean. Also on the video, no IMAX shots. So very weird because their whole marketing was like, this was shot for IMAX. You need to go see this movie in IMAX, and you do need to go see this movie in IMAX. I don't believe it's in the theaters anymore. But this was shot for IMAX, 0 IMAX scenes. Don't know what that's about, but again, they dropped the ball on this one. This I feel like the F1 movie could have been one of the best blockbuster movies of the year if they had done the audio right and if they had included the IMAX shots. So, yeah, very disappointing. I'm just baffled how you have your trailer for the movie on Apple TV Plus sounds 10 times better than the actual digital release. So again, man, these movies, these studios, they're just dropping the ball, and it's becoming increasingly frustrating. But that's my review, my immediate out of the home theater review for F1. I will not be doing a full review with, you know, like I normally do, just because it's so bad. I'm not going to waste time and effort on this. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think of F1. Have you seen it? What did you watch it on? Did you watch it on projector, TV? What is your system? And what did you think of the overall audio? What did you think of the video? Do you agree with what I think about the movie? Or do you have other thoughts? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you guys for watching, and I will see you in the next video.